Ladies and gentlemen, it happened. It finally happened. I finished my first walkthrough of Cyberpunk 2077. I am just stunned. I'm having a hard time during recording of this podcast because there are so many things I want to say to you that I don't even know where to start. So I will start with a few disclaimers of this little inkoreview. Firstly, this may contain spoilers because I want to share all the impressions I had during gaming with you, and it appears that it is impossible without sharing one or two spoilers, but I will try to mark them somehow for those of you who want to skip them. Secondly, I am no gamer, I am no esport player, I am no professional game tester, so this review will be just my own impressions connected with playing the game that I waited for so long. When all those premieres was delayed, I was pretty sure that this game does not exist, that there will be some announcement of CD Projekt Red. They will say, sorry guys, but there is no game, we just wanted to hang out with Keanu Reeves, and we will be all like, okay, this is completely understandable, we all would like to hang out with Keanu Reeves, so... But apparently the game was existing indeed, and it was about to be released, and this is the point where all this disaster started showing. You probably all remember very well what was going on in the internet and in social media when Cyberpunk 2077 was released, because all this complaining about bugs, about faceless NPCs and all this stuff was all over the place. It was so all over the place that it even hit the stock exchange value of CD Projekt Red actions, so, well, it cannot be ignored. But and here we come to the third disclaimer that I want to share with you in the beginning of this review. It isn't that important for me. I'm playing games and I'm reading books and I'm watching movies because I admire the feeling of immersion. It sticks very closely to my vivid imagination in all this that I have in my head, and the fact that I value the world, a portrayed world that lets me dive very deeply into this immersion. Secondly, I value plot, and the technical things are very far away on my bucket list of the things that a game must have for me to love it. So, as long as bugs and glitches don't distract me and don't spoil my feeling of immersion, they just don't bother me. And because of that, I was pretty sure I will buy this game as soon as I will have a gear that will be strong enough to lift it. As you probably all know by now, and as you probably all seen of my stories, I have such a gear, I have my pretty little computer Monstera, so the decision was very quick. I bought Cyberpunk 2077 and I did not regret it, no, I did not. This review for sure will not be professional. It will be just a bunch of my private subjective thoughts and impressions about my own walkthrough and all this stuff. So I want to divide this podcast into two very similar and very mirroral parts. First one will be talking about what I really loved, and the second one will be talking about parts that, well, I won't say I hate, but they were quite underdeveloped. So, if we have two messages, good and bad, we will start with good, because there are so more of them than the bad ones. When I firstly saw first photo shoots from photo mode in Cyberpunk, I was sure deep in my heart that I'm convinced and destined to play with Street Kid, so picking up a Nomad or Corpo wouldn't be just my style. So I picked Street Kid. I really wanted to make my own V, like an original character, I wanted her to be very based, very consistent. I wanted her behavior to be consistent during all the walkthrough. I didn't want to make her like this heartless and eyes of stone mercenary, the spoiled kid of Night City for whom only money matters and there are no feelings and all this stuff. No. I wanted to play as my V was a real person with her own desires, her own dreams, her own inner philosophy and all this. And that's why I decided to behave in a very certain way through all the Cyberpunk playing. Her character showed in almost every conversation she had, even the tiniest one. And this is the first huge shout out to Cyberpunk and its great advantage. And it is the fact that we have 3 separate beginnings, 3 separate prologues, depending on which race will you pick. Nomad will start, of course, far away from the Night City. Here V is deep in his or her solitude. There is no Nomad family around him, and he meets Jack Wells as his first client. When we start a game in Corpo, we of course find ourselves in Arasaka headquarters. And Jack Wells is our great friend who always cheers us up and helps us in work, and he is just like sweet cinnamon roll and he always supports, and he still keeps saying to us that we should leave this work and we should go on streets like him because Arasaka will eventually break us. And well, personally I claim he couldn't be more right. Those corporations are killing me. And finally, when we decide to play a street kid, we meet Jack Wells on one of the gigs. And this is the gig when we are supposed to steal the same car. And there is a quick fight between Dee and the Jack, which eventually appears to be the start of beautiful friendship. By the way, Jack and Misty are just relationship goals. They are beautifully portrayed, their psychology is so well built that I really believe that those 2 marvelous beings, NPC beings, really exist. I am very, very, very deeply stunned with their performance. I ship them so hard with each other, and I would say that every time I visited Dr. Victor Vector and I was going through Misty's Esoterica shop, that was a great pleasure for me, and every time I met her, I had a really good time just making a conversation with her. She's very interesting and fascinating woman, especially when you consider the fact that she is probably one of the very few people that in Night City are interested in mindfulness, spirituality, and all this kind of stuff that, well, you can witness here, but only from the eyes of all those false street prophets. By the way, I really like the behavior in NPC in this game, because they are like the real streets. I can believe that I'm spending an evening in this city. Well, this is another place when my love and deep devotion to immersion is showing. But the topic of Misty, Chakras, Tarot, and all her Misty Esoterica shop leads us to another thing that Night City has enchanted me with. And this is the fact that in Cyberpunk 2077, it is the dystopia what plays the first role. The dystopia in all her marvelous glory, the dystopia in all her power, full of very social, anthropological, and I would even say philosophical stuff and questions. The one that left in my head after this all walkthrough is, where is the border between the human and the robot? You probably can remember Alt Cunningham, you can remember Johnny Silverhand's story, but even when I was watching the Maelstrom Boys, which bodies were so deeply modified that I asked myself, are they even people right now? Am I fighting with people? How deeply can you modify your body and brain to stop being human? Does it matter anymore? I don't know the answer to this question, but if our future is about to go like this, we will have to find out. And when we are talking about all those perfect relationship developments and NPCs and their behavior and the psychology that they have built by the game runners, I cannot ignore one of the best relationship improvement that I have ever seen, not only in Cyberpunk 2077 but also in other games. And this is the relationship between V and Panam. When they meet each other firstly, Panam is very angry with V because she is forced to work with her or him, made by Rogue. But it appears that they can make a great team together, and as the next quest goes by, they get to know each other better. I really had a genuine pleasure in watching how Panam gains trust into V, how the feeling between them grows, and really how it lacks the ability to build a relationship with Panam if you are playing female V. What I'm about to say right now should be located in the second part of this podcast because it is connected with the things I think are underdeveloped and shouldn't be in the game. And it is the fact that when you have a relationship access, you should have another and different versions of dialogues. It leads to such a situations as this. You can't have a relationship or even romance with Panam, but still when you play female V, you get the very same dialogue as male V. And at the end of the day, you end up thinking that there is a very strong B energy in Panam and you just can't understand why it is unavailable. The exactly same situation is with River Ward, because you have the exactly same dialogues when you play with male V, and it leads to the very gay situation where River actually picks you up and you can't do anything about it because he's meant to be hetero guy. Like, that doesn't work that way. If you want to make an NPC uninterested in the main character, you can't give them dialogue lines like that. This behavior is just completely not consistent. When I asked you on Instagram account about the things you want to hear from me on my podcast about Cyberpunk 2077, one of you asked me what am I thinking about River Ward picking up strategy. And well, maybe it will be surprise for some of you, maybe it will be no surprise, but well, of course, and third time, of course I made my V hang up with River. What more? It wasn't one night stand. Really, they became couple together, thanks to me. Auntie shipper. Why did I do that? Because as I can see on social media and other cyberpunk analyses, River Ward is considered to be rather asexual and it isn't very oftenly picked by players. Why did I decided to end up with River? Firstly, this refers very closely to the thing that I told you on the very beginning of this podcast. It refers to the consistency of behavior of my V, the consistency that is based on the character I wanted to build in her, on her psychology. Call me a hopeless romantic or an eternal optimist, but I am proud of this. I deeply wanted my V to have a chance of love in this horrible night city world. That was kinda mimic situation, because imagine that. Me, I hate cliché. Also me, I'm over the moon when I see River Ward, the ex-cop with interesting backstory, very tough on the outside and very soft on the inside. Well, I don't see any reason why shouldn't I claim him mine. Seriously, when I was talking with him, I had like cuteness overload, like totally overload. His clumsy attempts to pick up V, his goo-goo eyes, his cooking for her. Well, that hit me right in my heart and I was like, okay, I will do anything I can to make you a pair and give you my dearest V a chance to have even a couple of months of happiness in the arms of a man who loves you. Some of you who are fans of Judy Alvarez may ask me why didn't I pick her, because, well, here you have even better draw development of relationship than when it is with River Ward. There is one reason. I just somehow deeply believe that Judy was crazy in love with Evelyn Parker, and that the death of Evelyn Parker was a great loss for her, and that she was deeply in despair after this loss. Of course, I can see that there is a bond between V and Judy, especially in one of my absolutely favorite quests of all game. I mean, of course, the underwater quest with diving with Judy. And really, I have to admit that I am feeling like crying every time I hear this music theme. Really, it hits me right in the heart. And the fact that Judy was escaping there to see her home, to see places where she grew up, deeply covered underwater, and that she is sharing her memories with V. This is a true golden bond. I can see that. But still, the moment when you are deciding if you want to be with her or not is right after this quest, right after she shows you the softest spots of her soul, right after you can hear her thoughts about Evelyn and you can probably feel her pain. And I was like, no, friends don't do this to each other. No good friend would take advantage of their friend like this. This lady is just deeply unhappy in Night City, and I can't do this to her. I can't make my V behave like this. I just want to cuddle her up and put her to sleep and tell her, maybe leave Night City. It doesn't become you. Maybe that's why I was so happy to hear the decision Judy made right after this quest. The decision to leave Night City and go meet her grandparents and start to traveling all over the US. I really enjoyed those messages that she sent V after her going out of town, and I deeply believe that she was happy, more happy than she would be when she stayed in Night City, when every corner made her remember her love to Evelyn and the completely tragic story that was behind it. I think right now all of you listeners to this podcast, my dear neonish souls, know how this immersion I was talking about at the beginning of this podcast is important for me. Like when I am playing, there is no V and me. I am V and I am completely into this game. And maybe that's why playing Cyberpunk was so special for me, because it was the occasion to go into this world, that aesthetic I love, as you can know from my Instagram art. And also maybe that's why my absolutely favorite hobby and a thing to do in Night City was just traveling on my motorcycle through the streets into the unknown, listening to Radio Principales. Mexico Love Mode on. And the official game soundtrack, the music, is another thing that I want to make a huge shout out to. Because, well, probably some of you know that I'm a great fan of soundtracks and this is my absolutely favorite genre of music. But what they did in Cyberpunk this is just pure gold. Like, this is pure gold. I've told you about my favorite theme, the Bells of Laguna Band. I also enjoy all of the songs that was in Radio Principales, and maybe I could recommend you also this absolutely crazy rave techno theme that was the background music to the first mission, to the rescue mission of Sandra Dorset. That was the first gig with Jackie Wells. I don't know if you can remember this. It is unavailable on Spotify because I have searched for this like crazy, but I found it on YouTube and it is just like perfectly ravey, and I feel the ammunition running down my veins when I'm listening to this. My heart is pounding with adrenaline to this beating, hypnotic, mesmerizing rhythm. Because of my clumsiness and some mistakes, and also because of the fact that I wanted to test all the classes of Vs, Nomads, Corpus and Street Kids, I've made this quest many times because I've started game over and over. So I was able to go through this completely tank type and completely sneaky type and all these kinds of ways of playing. But this is something I want to mention because some of the games do not really support those who don't want to only shoot. And I'm definitely one of those person. Maybe it is because I spend way too much time playing RPGs and fantasy games as Skyrim or Witcher, and I really feel like more on my place when I hold the katana or another sword in my hand. So when there comes to open fire, I'm just drawing my machete or knife or katana and going into the battle trance like a berserk Viking. But earlier, I do everything I can to do the thing as smoothly and sneaky as I can. And believe me or not, such a pounding trance rave music makes the situation even worse when you want to be sneaky and stealthy. But it is definitely possible, and you can go through almost all the missions I wanted to make sneaky was available and to go sneaky. This sneaky walkthrough was possible, and I really like that because I was afraid that if I'm not really into shooting games and FPSs, I will be just bored, and I was not. This is great advantage for me. Also, I was completely stunned with the hacking. I didn't expect it for myself because I spent so much time hacking all those machines and cameras and all this stuff, dealing with demons and making androids and mechs do what I say to do. I really had a good time. I think that this time when I was playing second time, I will give even more of my time and attention to the netrunner path of development. Also, braindances stunned me, and I really admire this concept. I deeply admired even the single smallest quest when I was able to go into the world of braindances. I felt like cyberpunkish version of Sherlock Holmes or Hercule Poirot going through this sneaky ways of deduction and all this stuff. I had really great time switching through those layers, searching for the signs, listening and searching for the right answer for the riddle. And this is what leads us to the grande finale of the first part, longer part of the podcast, when I am talking about what I deeply appreciated about the Cyberpunk game. And this is absolutely splendid Grand Prix deserving quest Bunraku. Do you remember the Perez, the couple of politicians that made you meet with River Ward for the first time? There is another quest available to do for them, and this quest is Bunraku. I don't want to spoil you a thing about this quest, because it is just too good. It is just too good to go. I can't. My inner self just forbids me. I can't spoil you this. But this quest is very simple and very minimalistic, I would say, and it left with such a deep feeling of fear, of confusion, and opens big gates of the unknown. Like I can feel that you can base the whole new game, Cyberpunk 2088 or something, based only on what USV discover in the Bunraku quest. That would be something completely amazing. This quest is game changer for me, and it is so easy to miss. It is so small. I've told you about my biggest positive surprise, and I will tell you as well about my biggest negative surprise. And my biggest negative surprise, something that, pardon my French, left me so angry and seeing red that I feel mad even if when I talk about it and when I want to think about it again. And this is Johnny Silverhand. Yes, I am talking about my beloved Keanu Reeves character, because I don't know why, but based on trailers and first gameplays, I built myself the very specific image of Johnny Silverhand. How will he be and what behavior will he do and all this, and Johnny is so non-consistent that I can feel the physical pain when I hear him. In one scene, he behaves like you were best friends forever. In another scene, he steals your body and goes for a party right after you say to him that you could give him your life if he asked. One day he is extremely nice, one day he is extremely annoying, one day he wants to kill you, one day he doesn't want to kill you, one day he wants to steal your body, one day he doesn't. Like, man, please, why don't you change your behavior based on the decisions I've made and based on the lines of dialogue I picked for V? I can't get it. I completely don't understand how people can ship V with Johnny Silverhand. There is only one moment when I felt that, well, maybe there is even a friendship, a small friendship between them, and that was when he said to her that no one had ever stand him for so long, even his closest friends. So we can say that this bar is super low this moment. And this leads me to another thing that I really hated. The game is so full of unmeaningful choices. I'm one of those annoying gamers that make a quick check-up on solution while playing to check if they will achieve a certain effect and a certain ending. And so many of those choices I checked up on were completely meaningless. It doesn't matter if I do this or I do that, if I say this or I say that. It just doesn't really matter. And it is so sad. It is really sad because it hits my emotion. It hits my emotion and my emotion is sand. Don't you dare. Also, I must admit that this plot is really short. The main plot is really short when I compare it to other games. I really don't like to mix quests. When I start one, I want to play only this. So when I devoted myself to playing main quest, I've ended it so fast. Sometimes I really wonder what happened in CD Projekt headquarters, because they have so many wonderful writers, so many extraordinary specialists of all kinds, and the game is very unequal, I would say, or uneven, because you have absolutely brilliant quests like Bunraku among the quests that are like go there and do this and goodbye, quest done. Go there and say this, goodbye, quest done. Go there, do this, quest done. As I can see from my street kid V, even the littlest gig can be a masterpiece. So why do we neglect side quests like this? Even in Witcher we have witch hunts, and every single one of them was detailed, demanding, well written, I would say even somehow sophisticated, and here I don't feel it, and that's sad. And at last but not least, bugs and glitches. Well, as I said at the beginning, this is fact. This is fact, the game is glitched. It is underdeveloped. Maybe the patches will solve the problem, I don't know. Maybe yes, maybe no. Maybe we will see some additions to the Cyberpunk. I'm looking forward to see them, because this game deserves all the best, and every underdeveloped area makes me feel like there is so big potential in this. I hope there will be some additions to this game, because in my soul I feel an inner lack. I feel some kind of insufficiency that can only be satisfied with more of Cyberpunk. I think that it will be all for myself. If you have any other questions connected with Cyberpunk and all this, you can write to me on Instagram. I will be more than happy to discuss it with you. We've just hit half an hour of podcast, so this episode is very long, but I hope you don't mind, and thank you for listening to it. And for those of you who are afraid of the ending spoilers, I say goodbye, Neonish souls, and see you on the next episode. And for those who aren't afraid and who are interested in what ending did I got, I'm here to fulfill your lust of knowledge. As I said before, I decided to make a couple from my V and River Ward, and because of that I decided to give her a chance of few months with this man. And the only ending that let me achieve this certain effect was going on rogue path and leaving Johnny in the cyber world with Alt Cunningham, while V was going back to her body in Night City to live a few more months as a new legend of this city and the new owner of Afterlife Bar. I must say I had really great time, either going through Arasaka headquarters on those lovely jumpy boots, and then when I was back in Night City, and the ending scene, the grande finale in space, it was absolutely dreamed, and it combined my love to Cyberpunk with my love for cosmos and one of my biggest dreams to see the Earth from space and do a spacewalk. I was so stunned with this ending. It was completely written for me. I'm very happy with that. So that's it. Thanks for listening, and if you want, you can share with me what endings did you pick and achieve. I will be more than happy to hear it. So have a good day and see you soon in the next Inko podcast. Probably it will be shorter than this one.